All right, we are here at my urban worm bag, and today we have a really exciting video for you because we are going to harvest, and I've got some really cool food things that I'm going to feed them. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video. So it is summertime, which is why I've been using those frozen bottles to help cool things down, and I want to show you something that I have right here. This is our temperature sensor that we've been using, and what I did was I put it in this freeze-dry container here, and I put a little bit of desiccant packaging that comes in various things like vitamins, etc. And Peggy over at Peggy Helbling's Garden What You Got gave me the idea for that. So the hope is that this will seal it tight and I won't get any humidity in there because the Ziploc bags just were not doing the job. And you're going to see this again during the feeding. So last time we were in here, we decided to feed over on this side, and that's why you see a lot of this bedding that's right here. And we did that because we wanted to check out the heat. And you know what? The verdict is out on it because initially it heated up pretty quick and there was actually some worms right on top of some of this paper towel and about 2 of them died. So I'm not sure that it was such a good idea as far as like having all the food here, making it really heat up and then having those paper towels. So maybe if I didn't have those paper towels, but let's go ahead and dig in because as I'm doing that, we just have tons of worms in here. And right here, I'm seeing all kinds of seeds. So there must have been some tomatoes or peppers right there. In fact, let's go over what we fed last time. And the first thing we did was we added damp shredded cardboard, followed by some dry paper towel rolls and paper towels. And then we dumped in some green beans and lettuce stalks and tomatoes. And we put in some colorful stuff like strawberries, blueberries, and tangerine peels, along with a whole banana. And finally, we added in an eggplant, along with more strawberries, banana peels, and an apple core. But the eggplant really gave me a hard time as I tried to pierce its skin, and to top it off, we added the rest of my applesauce container. And of course, we added worm chow, coffee grounds, and eggshell grit. So I'm guessing this part right here was tomato, and let me just kind of dig it out. Yeah, really cool. Lots of worms in there, and I think right there is one of the little tomatoes. And yep, check it out. Those tomatoes, these tiny little tomatoes have so many seeds in them. So let me just kind of dig under and just turn over, and this is really wet. And we've got a lot of the bedding that we put in here. Here is a paper towel roll. I'll just kind of rip it apart, and you can see it is breaking down from being so wet. I'm sure the microbes are starting to help the worms tear apart at it. And dig around here. I don't think that I'm going to do the side feeding again. I might try it again in winter or some other time, but I think what I want to do is kind of spread things thin this time. Wow, check it out. We're going to have things like avocado shells, which do a really good job of producing little tiny worm balls within them. And yeah, more tomatoes. But it has been 24 days. So we did an experiment where we did 30 days and there was like nothing left. And then we did 15 days and they did pretty good. There's a little bit of stuff left. And here with 24 days, we're really in a kind of a sweet spot. So I think 3 weeks with the amount of food that I feed in here and with this huge urban worm bag, it's probably a good kind of time frame to feed it, at least with how much food I feed. Here's some more avocado skins. Oh yeah, check that out. I absolutely love that. I can feel them getting between my fingers. And over here, I saw a little bit of mites. So right here in my hand is kind of a mini worm bin, almost like a mini ecosystem right there in that avocado shell. Really cool. And I think you probably are seeing the same thing I am, which is just an absolute huge population of worms in here. I think the conditions are really good, and I think they're enjoying summertime, even though it gets me worried and I put frozen water bottles in here. Everything is looking great. Now, I will admit, this thing has been outside for 2 weeks, but in between the weeks that it was out here, it was inside for about a week when we were on a trip, and I didn't really notice anything too different until I brought it back outside. When I brought it back outside, it released a little bit of water down into the mortar tray that's below, but I don't think that having it inside like helped it or anything like that. Temperatures were a steady 72 to 75, and out here it gets up to maybe low 90s during the hottest part of the day and probably back down to mid 70s. So things are looking great, and we are going to have a great harvest because I am feeling down here, and you know, as I dig down, lots of great castings. We do have some of the big stuff like a banana. oops, like a banana stalk, which is completely missing. I felt something hard over here. Let me see what this is. Oh, of course, got a pumpkin stem in here from a long time ago. We are in the middle of summer, and this is at least 9 months old. So let me just kind of flatten things out, put anything that we had right there in the center. And although I'm not going to do a center feeding, I like to make sure there's a lot of worm activity on some of the old stuff that is in here. Let's go ahead and start our feeding. So first thing I'm going to start with is a little layer of dry shredded cardboard, and I'm not too worried about being dry because we're going to put all the food stuff right on top of it. I'll just spread that out real good, just like that. And next we're going to put in our temperature gauge, and then I'll throw a little bit of shredded cardboard right on top of it. And my middle son recently graduated from college, and this is some of the salad that was left over from his party. He also got engaged, so we're really excited about that. So it has been a really busy time in our household, and this right here is a mystery object. I think it was probably strawberries. All my food goes in frozen or a little bit thawed out, but I make sure it's all frozen. And I'm not even going to say whose house this came from, but it wasn't from mine. We'll just kind of set that right there. That'll be interesting. Speaking of interesting, let's put in some shrimp shells. I put these in the freezer. Not sure that that's important, but it's just because it's the habit with all my other food. But you would be surprised if you've never put in shrimp shells. Try it in your worm bin. Next time we come in here, I bet there's going to be nothing left of those shrimp shells. Next, we have some stuff straight up from the garden. This is some kale stems, and I thought maybe oh, there we go, they break. When we come back and look at this, the worms will have eaten the center part, and I bet all this stringy part is going to be here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to break this. Maybe if it was more frozen. I've let the stuff thaw out. So this is just going to kind of go, I don't know, right there like that. And then finally, some of our weekly food scraps, which always consist of strawberry tops, some apple cores, avocado shells. Look at that, more apple cores. This, I think, is cauliflower. We've got a potato in there. And I'm just going to make sure that I don't have a big pile right in the center. We'll make sure we spread it all out. And this right here are some Brussels sprout leaves. I have noticed that kale leaves take a long time, so I'm going to see what Brussels sprout leaves do. This feeding is going to be super fun to explore in about 3 weeks. And right here, I'm just putting in some worm chow, just some expired grains for my pantry, just another opportunity for them to get more food. And then we'll go in with some coffee grounds, and I'm going to try and get rid of a bunch of them because they've been piling up on me. And then finally, we're going to go in with some eggshell grit. Now, these last 3 things that you've seen me put in here, they're not really required. Even the eggshell grit is not totally required. You can put a little bit in, you can put in some sand, maybe some oyster shells, but I prefer eggshell grit, and I don't prefer sand just because we've got sandy soil here. But again, this much is not required. This is just an opportunity for me to get my eggshells into the garden. So the worms use that eggshell grit in their gizzards to break up their food. And right now what we're putting on here is some wet shredded cardboard. And I will tell you, it has been about 5 years since we got my 12-sheet crosscut micro shredder. And I really think that has been what is a game changer for my worm bins. This stuff right here is shredded so small. And my very first worm bin, I was just ripping up cardboard, and the worms took a long time to get to it, and it was just an issue. But as soon as I realized I could shred corrugated cardboard in my 12-sheet crosscut micro shredder, I've never looked back. The worms are big time the beneficiaries. And because I want to bulk it up, I'm going to put in a whole bunch more shredded cardboard, just like that. And we might as well put in some of my bulkier trash can type bedding. Best kind of worm farmer is a lazy worm farmer, and I don't mind just kind of setting this stuff to the side and just dumping it into my urban worm bag, because it is going to take months for them to get all of this stuff and turn it into worm castings, which are going to come out in the harvest that we're going to do here pretty soon. So make sure you stick around. And let's just give it a bit of a spray down with some water from my rain barrel that also has mosquito dunks in it. And yes, I know I should definitely get a pump sprayer. It would make my forearms very happy. And I don't usually do this in this bin, but I'm going to put in some newspaper just to see how it does. And next, we are going to harvest. And by next, I mean in 2 days from now. But for you, it's immediate. Let's go. All right, so it's 2 days later. And if you'll notice a difference from the last time we harvested, we have some cinder blocks on here now. And this has raised the whole urban worm bag about 8 inches. And this part right here is about 15 inches. And all the way up to here is a little over 3 feet. So let's go ahead and get in here and start harvesting. As you can see, the drawstring is much easier to use. And I had a little bit of liquid down here because we've been adding some moisture. So I'm just gonna try and open this up real quick. And we're already getting some stuff falling down. So yeah, let's start pulling it out. Now I did go around and bang the sides of it to try and loosen some stuff up. And it's been 70 days since we were in here last. So we're just gonna kind of dig around and see if we can get maybe all the way up to here out of castings. Maybe get somewhere around 25 pounds or so. We'll see. Now, as I'm digging in here, it's feeling pretty moist. So I think that dry, crunchy part was just right here at the very end of it. But everything else up here is definitely moist. Yeah, let's check that out. Holy mackerel, yeah. And I'm not seeing as many worms as I expected, and that is probably because we just fed and the worms are going up towards the feeding, which is good. And they have a natural tendency to go up. These kind of worms are in kind of the duff layer of the soil. They don't go down real deep, so they're probably not as comfortable down here. And I think we are there. I think we're right about here. So that's good. Let me go ahead and go around the edges, and then I'm going to seal this up. And then what I'll do after this is I'll go ahead and bang the sides again so everything kind of falls down into here again. And I'm just going to get the drawstring up. Let's make it even. And there we go. Just like that. It's a little bit more difficult just because it's wet, but I think we've got a nice small opening right there. All right. And then let's go ahead and pull this up. Now, from this, you can probably see my hands are really dirty. Probably should have been a 2-glove day. Well, let's go ahead and take this down and see how much it all weighed. So now I just gotta try and lift this out of here. It shouldn't be too bad. There we go. Check out that. That is an awesome harvest right there. And I don't feel too many big chunks in here other than like a blob of castings, but nothing real hard. Maybe a couple of avocado shells and not too many worms. Here's one, there. But for how much castings this is, it is really doing a good job. Let's go ahead and weigh it. And that right there was 19 pounds. Pretty dang cool. And if you want to see what kind of stuff I do with my vermicompost, go ahead and check out this video right here where I show you how I store it and the different uses for it. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing fantastic. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.